I'm never, ever going to give commentators praise for calling a fight as it was. I thought it was an easy fight to score. I didn't think it was difficult. And I was amazed that Nick Horlin on DAZN with Alex Arthur had Ritson winning, and a handful of other people had Ritson winning. But it shows when, I mean, fuck me, you've even got the promoter coming out, Eddie Hearn, saying with, I think, Vasquez won. And again, it wasn't a difficult fight to score. But yeah, Ritson lost a bit of the buzz when he got bashed up off that Patera, when he was smashing him through everybody domestically at lightweight, and then he got bashed up off the Patera. He's come back, not carried the power up to 140. I'm certainly not shooting on Ritson either. Look, it's not his fault. He's not scored the fight. He's not done anything wrong whatsoever. It's not him. It's just one of them. It happens. He's got a favourable decision. Look, he's gone off what his corner have said. They were adamant he won as well. That happens. The one that deserves criticising is Terry O'Connor. 100%. It is a disgraceful card, what was submitted last night. An absolute disgrace. And it's like he's gone in and he's filled out the card already. He may as well have not even bothered watching it. How he can score it 117, 111 to Lewis Ritson is absurd. Absolutely absurd. There is no logic behind it whatsoever. Nothing. Michael Alexander's card of 115, 113. I don't accept that either. I just don't see how Ritson can be awarded the fight. But for Terry O'Connor, it's a joke, absolute joke. And he has been repeatedly doing this now for years. Just the same night on a fight on the undercard, he had Thomas Ward beating Thomas Asomba 88-84. Again, absolute bullshit. A travesty of a card. It should have been the other way around. That's what it should have been to Asomba. It was a travesty of a card. Simply awful. But nothing happens. Nothing happens whatsoever. But Robert Smith's interview on IFL TV was a joke. It was embarrassing. He clearly didn't care. It's like he stood in front of the camera because he had to, not because he wanted to. Fair enough. The picture looks like he was on a mobile phone. They're going to do some investigating. It'll probably come back and it says he wasn't on a mobile phone. But what's going to happen? Because O'Connor's been doing this for years now, and nothing ever happens to him. He reappears. He might have, like a month off or something, and then he reappears, officiating the big fights. He's out of shape. He can't get in, when he's a referee, and he can't get in and out quick enough. He makes a mess of stoppages.
Is he still refereeing, Ozzy? Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah,
is he still a ref?
As well. Yeah, Fat Terry's still referees.
Is he? I thought I thought he had forced to retire.
Yeah, I've seen him for a while. I was wondering.
Yeah, I'm sure.
No, I'm sure he's
maybe
still
abroad. Maybe abroad, mate. Maybe abroad. But I'm sure he's hit the age for the board to retire for officiating. But he might be able to work abroad. I'm sure. Is that what you're thinking about?
Yeah, let me just pull up his. Quite possibly. I'm sure he's refereed recently, though. Anyway, that's beside the point.
I'll check it now, mate.
Could I just say something, Ozzy? I just want to say one thing. Like, if you take it, obviously O'Connor is to blame in the sense that it's his scorecard. But I think, personally, the bigger picture, it's bigger than Terry O'Connor. And there's a problem.
That's a fucking challenge as well, because Terry O'Connor's a big bloke.
But yeah, you know what I mean. We obviously don't have any evidence to sort of support that claim, but the consistency of which this happens, and the way in which the cards always fall, there's only you always say who benefits Kibono, or who benefits. It's always the big promoters who benefit from this.
Of course it is.
Just to let you know, mate, I found that thing. So he last refed a fight in 19th of September 2019 when Luther Clay beat Dario Morello in Italy.
Right, yeah, so he can still get abroad then.
Yeah.
But might not be able to officiate in the UK anymore. But he should be struck off. It's as simple as that. He should be struck off. This fight should be... it's going to be interesting to see, because when you've got the promoter of the show coming out, and it's not as if Vasquez is his fighter either. Nothing's changing there. This should be rescored. And and it should be overturned without a doubt, annulled. It should be anything, and it would set a stance. Bob Arum last night said about Julie Lederman that if she is appointed to any of his cards, he's going to complain and get her kicked off because of her card last night. It'll be interesting to see if Eddie Hearn or Frank Warren come out and say that, because that's the only way I think we'll see stuff happen. It's jobs for the boys. O'Connor's been fucking up for years, but he's 67. I mean, the bullshit argument, oh, well, the closest to the ring, and they've got one view. And it was a travesty of a card, an absolute disgrace of what he's done. And there'll be no explanation. There'll be nothing of it. Keep an eye out on the board website, because it'll show whether or not they've been called up and Terry O'Connor is called up. But nothing will happen. It'll just be swept under that big carpet that they've got, and it'll all be forgotten about until the next person comes over and gets robbed. And I said last night on Twitter, the UK as an away fighter is the worst place to come now. Not Mexico, not Spain, not Italy, not Germany, nowhere else. The UK. Whether you're an away fighter and you're based in the UK or you're travelling from abroad, it's a joke, an absolute joke. And some of the decisions we've seen recently are a travesty. And the only time rematches are forced is when the money's there and there's an agenda pushed. So Hearn did it when Crawler got beat off Linares, and he decided that it was a close fight in the first fight. It wasn't, but there was cash there to be made, so they forced the rematch straight away. Skylab, you believe, like when they said Dillian White didn't get really knocked out, he was a fucking corpse on the floor. That's what he was. He didn't just get knocked out; he was a corpse on the floor. But again, there's money to be made.
He was up at 8. Ozzy, stop hating.
Sorry, my mistake. He was up
8
at
o'clock the next morning.
But again, look at this though, and who is involved again? And we repeat back, this time last year, Callum Smith against John Ryder, and who turned in a 117, 111 card for Callum Smith.
Big Terry.
That Terry O'Connor. With his big fucking chippy tits. It's a joke.
Don't forget as well, carrying cleverly back to the corner after against Kovalev.
Even Ed, I think it's convenient for Eddie to throw Terry O'Connor under the bus now that doesn't suit the Jordy Golovkin narrative. He would in no way on earth done the same thing with Terry O'Connor over the Smith Ryder fight. No fucking way would he have done it, even Ed. There's absolutely no chance he would have done it. So everyone's, like Steve said, congratulating Eddie because he called out Terry O'Connor. There's a fucking picture of the cunt on his phone circulating the internet. At the very least, it's gross negligence across the board. But we all know it's more than that with O'Connor. He has form. It's complete corruption, and it's disgusting.
Yeah.
So no credit to the matchroom for calling him out on that. The picture's gone viral with the score. And like even what's bad, and they're not saying when Macklin is coming out saying it.
Hell, here you Rob.
Between him and Eddie, more the company man these days, like.
Yeah,
Robbie
please.
in the middle of a hurricane.
I don't want anyone to sort of buy into the Eddie Hearn rhetoric that he's spewing out that it's disgusting and this, that, the other. If when I say we, I mean collectively we as the boxing public hadn't kicked up such a fuss about it last night, there had not been so much focus on boxing, probably due to Lomachenko Lopez. They had the additional sort of even more viewers perhaps that you're getting in the US, etc., paying attention to everything that's going on. No way would he have said anything about that card. Only because it was so fucking bad, Eddie said something. And so do not buy into the fact that Eddie's he's on our side. We've got to do something to change it. Who's fucking profited the most from all these decisions over the years? Frank. Yeah, exactly. So it's only the big promoters that profit from these guys. The guys who are paying for the shows, the guys who are putting the money into the pocket of the board, and all these officials, they're the ones who profit from it. So they're not on our side. I
said it's destroying fight nights now as well. Regardless, how many times since lockdown, when boxing has come back, have we said that it was a great fight, but again, it was ruined by poor cards. And that is a talking point. I think from the start of the year, I'd say nigh on near enough every week or every other week, we were talking about poor scoring. Something has got to change. and it's seemingly nobody's interested in doing it whatsoever. I think the last time something happened to a judge that was made public was it when CJ Ross was struck off
Yeah, Mayweather fight.
for the Mayweather Canelo fight.
Yeah.
Aside from that, and what was there? Adelaide Bird as well. Did something happen to her? Adelaide Bird as well.
Yeah, that's right. Aye.
She put a shocker of a card in. Aside from that, nothing has happened. O'Connor his license should be withdrawn. If he's found to be on a phone, no ifs, no buts, you're off.
Can you imagine sitting in a team meeting and in your office with like all your colleagues and that? You're just sitting there on your phone with your gaffers talking and stuff. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
You're talking about like the projection or like whatever's going to be happening for the next month and that. Talking about work and all that sort of stuff. You're like, fuck this shit. I'm sitting on my phone.
We've seen it again though. Another one.
So I was just going to say to me, see back in the listen. I've read some stuff about in box news going back to the 50s and that. I was talking about an old fight in Scotland and that. There was a situation where an area board official was not happy with the handling of a fight. And back in them days, there was no judges. It was like the referee was the sole arbitrator and the sole scorer of the fight. If they weren't happy about the handling of a referee doing a fight, it would get put to the board. And quickly, they were either they're called A-star referee. They would lose that A-star status, which allows you to basically kind of like officiate British title fights. It puts you back down to kind of like area level or non-title fights and stuff. But there's none of that. And this is like within 2 weeks. This will just drag on. As you say, it's every week. Okay, with a bad result in Germany recently with Kalkai and Barrio, for example. But Germany hasn't even holding the same number of cards, the same level, kind of like Matchroom's doing. We can leave. Top ranks had discussing cards. Pacquiao, Bradley, for example, the first fight. Mexico's probably had its problems in that, but there's nowhere near as bad at the minute as the UK. We mentioned Kovalev. Dave Lee posted up a shot there. Danny Williams fighting that with low blows. Terry O'Connor doing fights. The fat mess once shouted out for a corner to throw in a towel so he could wipe the floor because there was too much water in the centre ring. He couldn't bend down to wipe it up, so he used the towel with his feet to dry the ring and kicked it out the ring.
Andy, am I right in saying did he fall over once? Was it Carl Froch against Michael Monaghan and he fell over and broke his leg, I think?
I think he did. I know you mentioned that, actually. The thing is, Big Terry should know better. Big Terry fought. He was a heavyweight. He was a heavyweight amateur back in the day. He should know better. I mean, you're sitting at your fucking place of work. You're a professional judge.
Yeah.
At ringside at a professional fight. National television.
But it's lackadaisical. It's lackadaisical as well because he's just comfortable knowing nothing happens. And like I said, if he's found to have been on that phone, fuck him off. Make an example of him. But we've seen it again. Look, MTK are big players in the game now. They've benefited from it. Fucking they got the final they wanted. Tyrone McKenna, O'Hara Davis. Who was the poor sod? Mohamed Mamouni. Pissed the fight against Tyrone McKenna. Pissed it. And fair play to him, he kicked off. He went ballistic. And even Victor Loughlin, who again has turned in some poor fucking cards in the past 18 months, turned around to the announcer and looked flabbergasted when it was announced McKenna had won. And Chaz Coakley, Kieran McCann and Marcus McDonald all scored it to Tyrone McKenna. And again, you don't need to be, it's just your away corner. Fucking Tasha Jonas against Terry Harper. It was convenient for Terry Harper to win that fight. Tasha Jonas winning was a bit of a disaster, really, a bit of a disaster. And she didn't get one card on that. And no, fair enough, it was closer. But she did get one card. John Latham gave it to her by a point, I think it was. But it was close. But I tell you what, if there was a winner in the fight, it was Tasha Jonas. And to score it and Ian John Lewis is another one who should be investigated because his judging is horrendous as well. And we banged on about, the officials we've got, how good they are. Yeah, we've got a top standard of officials. All we do is talk about them for being poor, for not doing anything right.
What was another card, was it? Zach Kelly versus Jack Cullen. That was another disgusting one, just for recent times as well.
Yeah, what about the Kawasaki Manfredo stoppage?
Yeah. There's what we talk about mainly Terry O'Connor here and saying one or two other names, but there's people we highly respect that I know they've said to people managers who've complained about the decision or the scorecards, if it wasn't me, it would be someone else. You know, and that tells you everything you need to know about what goes on, you know, behind the scenes at boxing, up until, you know, at the highest levels, from the area levels all the way up to the top. This is the sort of thing that we're seeing regularly. It's disgusting.
Do you know what I've
I can't
said?
believe Ben is being so unprofessional, calling into the pod when he's out and about walking around. Who would do that?
Who do you think he was texting, Rob? What was Terry doing on the phone? What do you think he was doing?
He was texting Conor Golds and congratulating him on his 2 goals yesterday.
He could have been forwarding on the fucking Rangers Celtic lesbian porn to Andy.
Yeah, she was the A side, baby. She was the A side.
There wasn't much fucking A-side, I tell you. That's the one time I'd agree that the fucking Premier League is better than college football.
I've said what should happen though now. I've said for a while that I think ringside judging is outdated. I think when there's crowds there, judges are too easily influenced, you know, with the reaction of, you know, for example, you see when one of the Smith brothers fights, the Smiths sit in the corner behind the judges and everything that's popped out as a shot, they what's it called? You know, they're up in arms, you know, going mad. Scott Cardle's dad was a bad one for it. Every shot that landed, he was up in arms, you know, going mad. So I've said I would remove judges from ringside and I would put them in the arena, in, you know, like one of the boxes, like soundproof booth type of thing, and they have a monitor and they watch it on a monitor so they get the best angle they can. They basically get the TV angles type of thing. They don't see the replays. Naturally, you know, because that can be tailored to one fight or the other. You don't have any commentary and you just watch the fight. You see everything then. And I'd be interested to see what you get back off that. Because naturally, from ringside, you only get one angle and you're looking around and things like that. I wonder if that would work. Now, I know it won't work at all levels. I mean, it's going to be difficult, you know, like fucking small hole shows and stuff. It's not going to be easy. And I know every fight matters. But for your bigger cards that can afford to do it, why not? Something's got to change. Something has got to change. And I don't buy all this bullshit of, you know, like recently retired fighters should be brought in to do it. Because why should they? I've some of the
clearly biased as well. Look at my cards sometimes, stuff like that.
Exactly.
Nelson exactly with his opinions and stuff.
Yeah.
Or Usic's Bell used technically better than Usyk, for example. That type of stuff, you know.
Yeah, some of the opinions and scorecards that we've seen from ex-pros are horrendous, absolutely horrendous. And just because you put a pair of gloves on does not mean that you can score a fight better than somebody else. But for me, something has got to change. And now the board can come out of this looking extremely well if they act on what has gone wrong with Terry O'Connor. But sadly, I think we'll see him in the ring in probably a month's time. It wouldn't shock me if he gets appointed to go and fucking officiate at the in the Daniel Dubois card. It really wouldn't.
Yeah.
And what a waste that'd be.
There's a petition out, so go and sign it for whatever good it does. But it's getting it'll be jobs for the boys, as everything is said, man. It's just disgusting. Only you're just gonna keep, it's the same faces all the time. You see the fresh faces in that as well, mate. I seen some of the boys up at Cash Farouk against McGregor, for example, and there were some fresh faces there. But they weren't getting involved, or they weren't involved with the main event, for example. They were doing the undercard. But why not just put them into the fire sometimes? You know, put 2 experienced judges in at a main event and put one of the lesser known guys or persons into the third seat and just see how they go. Trial by error, you know, end of the day. But again, that's maybe unfair to say a trial by error because we want to get the right scorecards.
Well, we're not getting them now, are we? So, I mean,
no.
You can't do any worse.
Well, I know. Let's make, okay, for example, we had recent, what fights was it actually when we had the judges sitting ringside with the head guards on, no, the head guards, the ear defenders on.
Oh, yeah. Was that the Super Series, was it?
I'm sure it was. Wasn't that long ago, was it?
Wasn't it a WBC thing? Was it that thing Evander Holyfield did? I can't remember. I'm sure WBC said something about doing that. Maybe
it was more recent.
More recent fight. It was a professional fight, I'm sure.
I don't mean the Evander Holyfield fight. I mean he did that tournament with the WBC. And I can remember Gallagher went over for it.
Yeah, it was It was a few months ago, I think.
I
Yeah.
remember Joe Cortez once saying, I think he got asked a question about judging and stuff. And he once said that the best way, if you're going to have judges ringside, would be have them in an elevated position, looking down on the ring rather than being sitting. Because you know yourself, if you're sitting ringside, you're basically sitting like a worm's eye view. You're looking up. You've got to look through the ropes. You've got to look through corner posts and stuff like that. So if you're elevated without that type of thing, I think you would get a better dimension, shall we say, a better angle look at how punches are landing, because you can yourself, if you're sitting at one angle at ringside and stuff like that, you miss certain things, especially if the action's across the ring, for example, you know.